I'm Tony Nye from the Clinton County Extension Office with Ohio State University, and we've been talking about pasture pork. And in this segment, we want to talk about the feeding and the feeding strategies that go with a pasture pork situation. When we consider feed, we got to remember who our animal is that we're taking care of, and that is a pig. They are true opportunistic omnivores. They will eat leaves and stems, roots and tubers. They'll eat other animals, insects and reptiles. They will also eat animals that are dead or alive, and so they are very opportunistic, as I said. They make excellent use of byproducts. So if we have different items of byproducts, such as potato chips from a potato chip company or other products related to that, we can utilize that in their diet. We just need to make sure that we make adjustments to accommodate the things that those byproducts may or may not give to the animal to fulfill their nutritional needs. Pigs have a great survival instinct, and this allows them to mix their own feed. So we may feed a ground corn and soy mix and then have free choice vitamins and minerals for them to utilize as their body tells them they need that. Feed can impact the consumer eating preferences and experience. So again, do we prefer GMO or organic feedstuffs in our program, or can we use, what's available to us in our area through our commercial feed companies and feed stores? What kind of flavors or other things can we add to our feed? So fish meal may impact a eating experience. Flaxseed. What is the fat composition of the feed? How much energy does it provide? And those types of things. If we think about the pig and the feed itself, a pig requires about 700 pounds of feed to reach 200 pounds and can utilize up to 1,000 pounds of feed to reach the size of 300 pounds. Again, this is going to be due to the genetics, the efficiency of the pig, as well as the efficiency of our feeding strategies that we provide to provide the feed to the animals. This feed will contain 70 to 85% grain. If we think about pasture, we can utilize some of the forages, but it's never going to be 100%. So the amount of feed that we provide commercially through ground corn and soybean meal, vitamins and minerals, there are going to be those amounts that we need to consider. Do you have facilities for grain storage, or just for that matter, feed storage? Or do we have to buy it on a regular basis? Is there a feed dealer in your area? Is our access to available feeds close by? If we have the storage, can they deliver it on a week to bi-weekly standpoint? Do you have some way of mixing different ingredients for your pig feed? So you might be buying the ingredients and mixing it on farm. Do you have a mixer grinder that allows you to do that? Is it cost effective to have those things, or is it best for a feed dealer and a feed manufacturer to take care of all of that work for you? When we think about feeding, not only the diet that we feed the animals needs to be considered, but how we are going to feed the animals on a day-to-day basis. If we think about gestating sows or even sows that are lactating and raising baby pigs, we may hand feed them every day. We may be able at certain times of the year to spread it out on the ground, but we may also have to have feeding troughs or something that we can put the feed in to keep it out of wet, mud, snow, those kinds of things. We may be able to use a mechanized feeding system where we're delivering the feed through an augered wagon, and we don't have to carry the buckets out there. We can actually drive the tractor with a auger wagon with the feed already in it, and we can deliver it to the pens of pigs that we have. We may also have some kind of feeding site where we have some kind of automated feeding system that protects the feed from the elements but allows the pigs free choice. As we look at the pictures here on this next slide, we also need to think about water. How do we get the water to the pigs? Keeping in mind that water has to be available every day. It needs to be fresh, and it needs to be in a manner that the pigs can get to it. So if we think about one of the slides or one of the pictures on the slide, we have a thermal frost-free delivery system there on the top left corner. That pig is drinking out of that. It doesn't require electricity. It uses the ground temperature to keep that water fresh and available to the pigs. The one thing we need to keep in mind is during the winter months when we get severely cold, they will ice up, and we do need to check that routinely. The picture in the middle on the top is a barrel water with a nipple on it. And in the months of June, July, August, when the sun is bright and the temperatures are hot, so too will that water. So can we provide that watering apparatus in a 55-gallon barrel under a shade so that it keeps it cooler? If not, we will find that the pigs won't want to drink it because it's just literally too hot. We don't want to put the water right next to the feed. We want to keep that away. If we're using a watering system with a hose attached to a pipe and a nipple water, there again, if that hose is exposed on top of the ground, high hot temperatures, lots of sunlight will heat that water up in that hose, and the pigs will not want to drink hot water. So our amount of water that they consume can be impacted, which can in turn impact the amount of feed that they utilize on a day-to-day basis to grow efficiently. So if we're looking at a simple way where we stretch a hose out, we may want to bury that hose 5 or 6 inches underground to the delivery point where we attach it to a nipple. When we think about how we are going to deliver feed to the pigs, again, we talked about gestating sows or sows with baby pigs. We may be able to feed them on the ground and feed them on a day-to-day basis. But if we've got growing pigs that we are trying to get to market weight, we want to be able to provide them some type of feeding apparatus that keeps the feed dry, but allows them access, free choice every day, 24/7. So the type of feeder that we provide out there, as well as how we keep it so that they don't knock it over, it doesn't get full of mud, and those types of things become important in our feeding strategies. When we look at pastures again, we need to consider how much forages do we want to rely on? What kind of forages are best for our animals for best growth, efficiency, and getting them to market weight on a efficient, cost-effective manner? So looking at legumes, there are groups of legumes that we would consider that provide a great level of protein, calcium, and carotene. They do this better than most of our grasses. So when we look at legumes, those legumes such as alfalfa, ladino, sweet clover, red clover, and lespedeza are usually the most common that we utilize in swine pasture situations. The best two would probably be alfalfa and ladino clover. Ladino clover does not produce as much growth or forage or tonnage per acre, but it actually has some superior nutritional values. So a lot of times what we will look for in our forage strategies is growing both ladino and alfalfa together. We increase our yields and we improve the nutritional value. When we consider utilizing grasses, we need to also keep in mind what grasses work best in a pasture pork situation. Perennial grasses such as orchard grass, endophyte-free tall fescue, timothy, and brome grass can be used a lot of times along with legumes, those alfalfas and clovers. We generally do not grow grasses by themselves if we are truly looking at utilizing forages as part of our feeding strategy. So mixture of grass legume have performed best, and the advantages are they increase the yield, they provide a much superior sod, and they reduce the risk of losing legumes through heaving during the winter months and stress kill through wet seasons or drought during those time frames of our year. So keep in mind, feeding strategies are important along with everything else that we've talked to up to this point.